Elizabeth Warren joins me now live from our Washington bureau. Good morning to you. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So you've had a month in office now. I know you said right at the get-go you wanted to keep your door open, talk to many in the industry. What have you learned in the past month?
Well, I've learned that the industry seems to be ready to do some new thinking about consumer financial products. A lot of them had made a lot of changes with the Card Act going into effect, for example. A lot of them made a lot of other changes in their business models. And so what I've reached out to talk to them about is what kind of regulation we should have from the new consumer agency. What should we be driving toward? Should it be a thou shalt not model? You know, here are 10 bad things that the industry's doing, and that's kind of the cat and mouse game. Or should we agree that we're really trying to drive toward a better functioning market, and that regulation's role is to support that and make that market more competitive? That's our conversation right now.
That's a conversation. Have you reached agreement? I mean, are there types of agreement with the financial industry on certain items on your agenda?
Well, let me put it this way. We're talking. It's been something of a surprise, I think, to some people in the industry, the direction that I've started with this agency, and their response has been, many of them warm, actually, and inviting. So, you know, we're at 10,000 feet. We've brought it down to 5,000 feet, maybe even to 1,000 feet. Nobody's on the ground yet with any deals. But we certainly seem to be aligning in the same direction, and that makes me very optimistic.
How close are you to having a director to serve at the top of the agency?
You know, we have so many things we're trying to get done at once, and certainly finding a director for the agency is one of the central parts. My job right now is to stand this agency up. As you know, the minute that the president signed it into law, a process was supposed to begin of getting this agency up and going. And that's the job that the president has given to me, and that's the job I'm faithfully trying to carry out, getting started.
Well, in terms of getting started, I'm sure you've read Senator Dodd was out there expressing concern that regardless of how the November elections end up and which party dominates, there are going to be people there who aren't happy that your agency exists right now, and they might try to sideline it. Is there danger that you see on the horizon?
Look, of course. This is an agency that was born with a lot of people rooting against it. The industry had lobbied ferociously against it, and there are some in the industry who certainly haven't changed that position. I have no doubt that there are those who, for political reasons, would like to see the agency not do well. But the reality is, this was not an agency that came into being because it had some special interest group behind it or because it had big lobbying dollars. This is an agency that came into being because a lot of American people said, you know, it's time. We need this kind of protection. And I want to say here, I've tried to be faithful to the people who want this agency and what they wanted out of it, but also to reach out and include the industry and say this is a moment, an opportunity to stop the war and to start developing something that works well for families and works well for the industry. And so far, good reception.
Well, among your responsibilities, you have the authority to write and enforce new standards for mortgages. So given the recent controversy we've seen and the foreclosure freeze, can we expect that mortgages will be at the top of your agenda?
Well, we actually are working on a project on mortgages right now, but it's one that has a much longer arc, and that is trying to change the paperwork that goes into a real estate closing, the mortgage portion of a real estate closing. So what we're trying to drive for, there are multiple forms that right now lenders have to fill out. Arguably, they are not very helpful to customers. They come late, they're confusing, they're overlapping. So it's the worst of all worlds. Drives up costs for the lenders and doesn't provide much benefit for the customers. What we're driving toward is a one-page shopping agreement the notion that a borrower can get the key pieces of information that she needs when she's out shopping for a mortgage and can actually make comparisons and figure out both what she can afford and which will be the cheapest provider for her. Good place to go, I hope.
Do you agree with David Axelrod that there should not be a national moratorium on foreclosures?
Well, you know, I think the appropriate thing is to step back and note that the big issuers, the big servicers right now have voluntarily said we're suspending mortgage foreclosures. And that tells us two very important pieces of information. The first one is this is a very big problem. And the second one is the industry is trying to fix it itself right now. And I think that's what we know right now, continuing to get more information on it.
Well, we will continue to track your progress there.